Hello comic book fans, my name is David Lees, and in this video, I'll be looking through Star Trek Year 5 Issue 4. This concludes the two-parter from last time. Spock, Kirk and McCoy down on Sigma Iotia 4. Spock having put himself forward for the presidency of the planet. Vote for Spock. Infrastructure development, immediate concern. So we're doing it straight off, there's no recap in the comic. On one of Spock's campaign parades, the Iotans possess a flair for excessive simplification of complex ideas. They've created a haphazard version of human electoral process, or American electoral process, where the slightest political whim is voted upon and enacted. Here we are, and so we see Spock, my fellow Iotans, and he's launched off into one of his campaign speeches. Talks about the unfairness in the society, which is split into two tiers, and he's the candidate for the sort of the sub tier, if you like, and working with that team or that side in the opposition party to try and get himself elected, highlighting that the underclass are being used unfairly. Treasury and funding is being squandered rather than being spent on them. The current government unfairly distributes treasury funds to suit the northern continent, and they stole the southern continent's warp research technology, trying to keep them grounded, stuck on a continent, as the candidate partner says, with 2,000 bridges to nowhere, irrigation canals filled with sludge, and the people on our Delta-based space station are about to burn up in the atmosphere. All these terrible things happening to the southern half. They're not being funded, as Spock points out. This is sabotage by proxy. There we go. Having broadcast that in a campaign speech, it puts the whole argument in a different light. Kirk and McCoy go to President Jamek and says it's true. Yes, it's true. And President Jamek continues with his misunderstanding of earthen ways. Deny it. Isn't this how you operated for centuries? Advanced civilizations are born from the ashes of the unsophisticated. McCoy takes him to task and says, past tense, you're cherry-picking examples from Earth history. Every instance of your vaunted humanitarianism was a remedy for the spoils of conflict. President Jamek, we don't have time for this merry-go-round of recriminations of half-baked rationales for creating an underclass, which is basically what they've got. Scotty, meanwhile, on the Enterprise, is dealing with a potential mutiny. The crew have found out that they have a Tholian on board, Tholian sworn enemies of the Federation, and some of them want to go ahead and kill it. But Sulu, Uhura, Scotty on standby. Ensign, this is your last warning. No, it's yours, Commander. That monster you're protecting is destroying the ship's engines. So there's all the different ensign red shirts all lined up, and Uhura threatens to shoot him or stun him where he stands. No, what actually happens is Chekhov comes in, one of the ensigns shoots Scotty, but only on very low power. He doesn't actually do any damage. Well, I'll be. I didn't feel a single thing. So it's all very strange. But power to the Enterprise has been cut. They're trying to kill the Tholian in his cage, basically, by preventing the environmental controls from working, keeping his area warm enough for him to live in. Tholians like their environment to be super hot, and maintaining that superheated temperature on the Enterprise is taking a lot of effort, energy, and power. Meanwhile, on the planet, Spock, are you out of your dang-blasted Vulcan mind? Yes, sounds about right. You can pick from 47 candidates, of which one is Spock. Captain, my campaign speech fully delineated the reasons for my candidacy. And McCoy jumped and said, yes, that's the point, there shouldn't be a Spock candidacy. It was logical, said Spock. Spock's following his logic to its absolute extreme. But what we've discovered is that Delta Base will fall to the planet within hours. Blast radius marked out in the sea, but it will right off the east coast of the northern continent, where 90% of the population lives. So, in this area, nuclear radiation wipe out the whole planet, basically, if this thing is allowed to fall. So, going to need the Enterprise to pluck it out of orbit with its tractor beam. And in order to do that, they're going to launch space-worthy rockets in an attempt, as Kirk puts it, to retrieve any survivors before re-entry. This thing comes crashing down, there are people on board who will die, not just those on the ground. President Jamek says he can't do it. The representative from the south says that's a lie. We're about the experimental rocket program at Omega Base. And that's where they're going. Kirk, Spock and McCoy, having fully opened the can of worms, given some air to all the grievances between the north and the south, have really kind of taken the lid off the whole situation, as they do. So they get to the rocket base. Kirk to Scotty. Scotty says, we've got the situation under control, we've got low power, we're dealing with several complicated situations, engine repairs are on the list, give me an hour or two. Meanwhile, Kirk, Spock and McCoy are actually going to storm the rocket base, heavily defended by the government forces, the Astro Liberation group with them, ready to take the space rocket up and go and rescue the survivors from all the inhabitants of Delta Base. Meanwhile, they're still trying to work on repairing the engines, restoring power, and at the same time sorting out the situation with these mutineers who attempted to kill the Tholian. It turns out that Ensign Sati here was on one of the ships that was destroyed by... had a sister who was aboard the Defiant, which was the ship in the original series which was destroyed by the Tholians in their web. So, the phaser was on low power, not enough to do any damage to a human, but enough to destabilise the dilithium crystals and prevent the Tholian from surviving it on board the Enterprise. Meanwhile, down on the planet, Kirk, Spock and McCoy are storming the rocket base in an attempt to get the rocket up to rescue the survivors from the space station, Delta Base. Insufficient power for the tractor beams, won't be ready for another 10 minutes, so the plan is to get the pilots into the rocket, get them sent up to retrieve the inhabitants of Delta Base, or alternatively to use the tractor beam on the Enterprise to pull them out, pull the base back into orbit. A fight ensues, as it always does, as they attempt to storm the building. The Iotien Air Force start overflying the base. Nice picture here. But they're overflying it, preventing the rocket from taking off. They just collide and cause an immediate explosion, which would be catastrophic. Meanwhile, very briefly, Uhura is attempting to communicate with the Tholian. It seems to get somewhere with mathematics. And there's the Fibonacci spiral. It seems to be working. Meanwhile, back on the planet, back and forth. The rockets will easily cut through those fighters, yes, but at the same time, the potential murder of the fighters, possibility of impact with the rocket and causing destruction. It's not happening. Get to Enterprise, get the tractor beam up and running, pull the Delta Base back to a higher orbit. So that's sorted. They don't actually launch the rocket, the fighters are too close by. Spock, as we shall see, wins with 84% of the vote, but stands down immediately, recommending that the Sigma Iotians read The Republic by Plato, narrative on the life of Frederick Douglass, teachings of Seurat, as you do. So that should keep him on a more even keel and a more progressive and safe future. Being back, Kirk having reflected on how he enjoys being in the thick of the battle, he enjoys the adventures, he doesn't want to sit back and get a desk job and become an admiral. Meanwhile, Uhura explains that math is the way forwards in communicating with the Tholian who's on board, so that will develop into better communication in the future. And that's pretty much where it sums up, with the ability, as it says in the summary, to say hello. Next time, we have the shadow of the Enterprise over a pretty much wrecked planet, so something's gone wrong again. I'll go very quickly through the cover gallery. That's the one I have on my cover. Visit Sigma Iotia 2. Experience a glimpse of ancient Earth on the other side of the galaxy. Discover your inner gangster. Some of the other items that were available in July. See, I'm only about 9 months behind. Letters from the IDW editor. A few other titles you can select, including a good few many of the new Starship Enterprise. And there's Kirk and Spock and McCoy. And then the usual blurb on the back. I will return hopefully more soon than usual with issue 5 and beyond. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Please do like, comment and subscribe. I'll be back soon with Star Trek Year 5, Issue 5. Bye for now.